Okay, so today I'm going to do a very quick tutorial on the infrastructure automation and provisioning for JD Edwards. I'm going to navigate to a public Github repository where all of this documentation is. So you can see here we have eBusiness, JD Edwards, Seeable and PeopleSoft. So I'm going to link this in the video below, and I'm also going to link the supporting documents. But what I'm going to do today is there's a lot of people wondering how big a shift is it to move an on-premise application to the cloud and the whole re-architecture of that. So JD Edwards DBAs and system administrators will be familiar with their environment servers and deployment servers, and the enterprise servers and all of these different topologies. So what I'm going to do is just clone that Git repository. So you can see I have cloned it here. I'm going to be working in the JD Edwards directory if people want to follow along. So when I navigate to the JD Edwards directory, you will see a whole lot of files, and believe me, it can be very difficult when you first look at it. So if you navigate to it on GitHub, the instructions are there. The first thing you need to do is update your environment variables file and also edit the scripts to suit your environment. So I am just going to do the non-production. So the difference between non-production and production is I'm just going to be working in one availability domain in one region. If you want to do a production environment, you can do it spread across multiple availability domains and then use rsync for cross-region replication. So I'm going to just do these steps and show you how quick it can be to get up and running the underlying infrastructure for a big application like JD Edwards. So I'm executing the instructions, so I'm just going to source my environment variables file, which I have updated with my authentication details. And I'm going to hit Terraform init. And this initializes the OCI provider, and you can see there's a whole lot of modules built into this. So if you hit Terraform plan, but you can also source a variable file. So this is where we are going to provision the underlying network and also the Bastion host. So this is a global file, so you can use this for production deployment or non-production file. So if you want to VI the network.json file, you can view those details. But what this will do, it will provision 2 Bastion jump servers, which you can jump to your database and WebLogic ADF servers. But you can see here there's 28 resources to be deployed. I can go through these if you wish, but just for quickness, I'm just going to save that plan. So with Terraform, you can continuously edit your DevOps scripts and then keep saving your plans to suit the architecture that you need. So as you can see here, if you were to deploy this on-premise, it would be a whole lot of infrastructure to work with. And obviously with the network, the route tables, the firewalls, all these are different things that you have to think about. But if you're working with these provided scripts, it can make your life a whole lot easier. So instead of planning this, I'm actually going to apply it. So what does the apply mean? It means that it will actually work against the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure account. And just to confirm, you hit yes before you do it. It's going to build the infrastructure that you have written in code, and you can see this in my environment. So I'm just going to, the networking route tables is pretty much created instantly. So you can see here a whole lot of different subnets. So a subnet is just a division of your network with a CIDR notation. So I have a whole lot of different subnets, and then route tables. What will be here, so you can see there is also a dynamic routing gateway being provisioned. So after this, there will be a lot of post-installation steps for you. So you can provision an IPsec connection, and that will run against your dynamic routing gateway. And also for the WebLogic, you can download some environment files to configure it. But this is just looking at the underlying infrastructure and networking. So once again, our networks our subnets are there. Looking at our security list, we have 8 different security lists. Obviously, with the 2 Bastion servers, you will be allowing traffic from your on-premise network. What you really should do is just pick one public IP from your on-premise network range and allow traffic from the Bastion jump host. So at the end of the output of that Terraform apply, you will get, and this is defined in your outputs.tf, all the OCIDs, the public IPs, and the host names. So an OCID is just similar to your AWS ARN, so that's your Amazon resource name. So the next plan that you have to do is when you provision the actual servers. So all we did there was two Bastion servers and a network. Now we have to update our next Terraform apply with those OCIDs and networks. So we are picking the subnet OCIDs where we want to deploy our deployment servers, our enterprise server, WebLogic, and of course, our database. So there are two variable files that we are going to insert into our next deploy, and that's going to be non-production subnet and non-production.json. So I'm going to show you what you need to do here. So what you must do is update these two files with the outputted text from the previous Terraform apply. So it's actually very straightforward. You just need to change these details. I've done it already. So just to show you, just to be prepared beforehand. And here is where we are defining the shapes, passwords, database edition. So I went for extreme performance. I'm only going to deploy one database node here, but if you were to change it to two, you could, after this, you could enable active data guard between the two databases. So we see here, I'm just going to source those two variable files. Apologies, I didn't reference it correctly. So just source my environment variables file, which is in the previous folder. So now you need to once again do Terraform init to initialize the OCI provider, and you can see here the modules. So these are Terraform modules pre-built to work against OCI, and now we are sourcing those two JSON files. So please bear with me. Yeah, so this should work. I just need to change subnets to JSON. Okay, so what's going to be added? There's going to be 9 further resources to be added. We are going to be provisioning 2 more servers and 1 database server. And so you see here, there's a whole lot of infrastructure. I think in total, there's 38 different resources to be created. And if at the end of the video, I will go through some database migration tools which you can use. But I do always say the biggest thing in terms of migration, you will be very comfortable with the infrastructure, but the data migration is where you need to think, and Oracle's made it very easy for the Oracle data migration. You could upload to object storage with Oraman or with Data Pump, and then import it into your newly provisioned database, and you're nearly up and running with JD Edwards in the cloud. So obviously this script will take a bit of time to provision, because we are provisioning, I think it's 2 cores of an enterprise high performance database. And you can see here my 2 servers are provisioning. My 2 bastions are already up and running. And in that previous file, you had to insert the public IP of the bastion. That's because the script allows traffic to the newly provisioned servers from the bastion public IP. So that's typically just a security feature just to get started. But I would always recommend using a VPN with your dynamic routing gateway. So I paused the video and I just catted out my terraform.tf state file, and I just after pasting it into Microsoft Visual Studio Code, it's really good. So in this whole JSON document, you have your entire environment. So there's 38 different resources after being provisioned. And you have all their IDs, all the key value pairs. This is really good, and there is also a Python script where you can print this out even to a more friendlier document. But this would be extremely good for your developers just to have a document like this and an overall picture into your architecture. And from here, that you could just reference back to the architecture diagram which I showed previously. So I also, apologies, I'm also doing this with eBusiness, so that's why the other server was provisioning. So my database is up and running, and it's an OLTP database. So let me just go back to instances. They should be up and running now, as reflected in my Terraform TF state file. Okay, so everything is up and running. So what we would need to do now is just SSH to our Bastion server, and from there we can go to the database, or we can go to the newly provisioned enterprise and WebLogic servers. and then if you wanted, you could do a local port forward from the bastion and just add it as a permanent route. And there's a whole lot of different ways that you can do this. But once again, the dynamic routing gateway is there. You see there's no public IP, and all this information is referenced in this document. But it's really great that these scripts are available, readily available, just to help with the deployment of a large application like JD Edwards on a cloud provider. A lot of this is running on Oracle Linux, and this is where it's tested and certified. So this is why it's really, really strong. And you see here, we only have one database. We would always recommend two, where you could run RAC or Active Data Guard. So now what I'm going to do is, just at the end of all this, like if you just wanted to do a trial or a test, you can change your Terraform apply verb just to a destroy, and you can take down that whole infrastructure that you have provisioned, just aside from the 2 Bastion servers and the underlying network. We are just going to, you can do that in the previous command that I showed at the start for the provisioning of those Bastion servers. So if I wait a couple of minutes, this should all be destroyed. So this could be a good testing purpose if you wanted to investigate this. But this is typically the way many partners and customers are developing these scripts themselves, just referencing the GitHub samples. And Oracle has also provided JD Edwards one-click provisioning. So it does require a bit of infrastructure provisioning beforehand and networking, like you've seen in this video, but it will just give you a graphical user interface for your migration. And once again, I'm just going to link all the documents underneath this video. And if you do have questions, please do reach out to your Oracle account manager. So in the end now, I'm just going to also reference one document, which is really great for questions and use cases on the what, why, when and how of migration to the Oracle Cloud, with the huge cost savings, but also the technical details of doing so. So with that said, I would like to thank you very much, and please do reach out to me if you have any questions on your technology or how to do this. Thank you.